Good, let's start this session on the AfriCultuReS Community Data Hub. Three things I'm excited about. One is, of course, that now we have the AfriCultuReS Community Data Hub, because that took a long time to prepare, so we can give the first public demonstration today. That's great. Another thing is, of course, farmers need better access to inputs, to land, to finance, and agronomic advice, and insurance, and we all know that. But of course, government has a very important role to play in food security, and with the AfriCultuReS Data Community Hub and the services derived from that, we can support local government in better policy making. So that is a very great achievement, I think. And the third one is that this is, as we will see from the use case, is really an African-driven initiative. So those are the 3 points I want to make before we start. Then some rules and some household information. This session is recorded. So if you do not want to be recorded, then it's time to leave. And there are, we will first do the program. So we will do the questions afterwards. As I've seen in previous sessions, it's better to put the questions in the chat. And of course, we have limited time. So you can find the biographies of the speakers. You can find that on the website of the Geo Symposium. So our program is that first Juan Suarez will give an overview of the AfriCultuReS project and a word of welcome. Then we will have Stelios giving a short demo of the AfriCultuReS Community Data Hub. And then we have 5 presentations from Africa on the use cases that we are developing. So our time is limited for today. We only have 1 hour. So please, Juan, can you start with your presentation?
Thank you very much, Mark, for the introduction to the meeting. Thank everyone for attending this session today. Thanks to the Geo for letting us having this time to share the AfriCultuReS initiative. So I wanted to be super fast. I have a very short presentation on what is AfriCultuReS. But first is I wanted to stress is, I'm sorry, well, okay, that whatever you will see today is that to stress that our aim is food security in Africa. You will see we are using Earth observation and geospatial technology to support food security, but it's not just this. So we are going beyond classical approaches to crop monitoring or whatever you can imagine in this field. So also from the beginning is an idea we had is that addressing food security and delivery in Africa cannot be done from Europe, like let's say using a parachute technology or science parachute jumping into the continent. So since the beginning, the activity was was designed and co-designed with African participants, and because we need of them bringing their experience and their knowledge and their wisdom into the project. So what is clear for us is that it's a African and European partnership, which is open to other contributors for sure, but since the beginning, I stress again that it's need for shared by African and European participants in an equal footing manner. Okay, so what is really AfriCultuReS? AfriCultuReS is being funded. Is funded by the European Commission as in Horizon 2020 project, but which takes part of the GEO work program as a community activity. The idea of AfriCultuReS is to be complementary to GeoGlam, because somehow we see that we are in a middle layer between GeoGlam and other layers which are undertaking geospatial technology projects in support of food security. So we can deliver upstream to I don't know, multilateral institutions, but we can deliver at the national level or subnational level, even to the grassroots, to the farm level. Yeah. Also, AfriCultuReS is an activity which aims at contributing to the uptake of the Copernicus services and also to the GMES and Africa activity. So, AfriCultuReS is using ICT and data science and analytics for the integration of Earth observation and in situ data, but also we are using beyond just Earth observation, weather and climate services and food production forecast for crop or biomass for grassland or rangelands for enhanced decision making, and the enhanced decision making to be done by different users or the stakeholders. It's the same like the levels we are about to deliver. So it's at the national level, decision making at national level, or at the level of design of programs, or at the end of making decision at farm level on when to plant, where, how much water is needed, all these things. Yeah. For the success of this activity, also apart of having being on board the African participants, which is a cornerstone for the activity, also we consider from the beginning that the actions shall be the co-design and co-developed with users and stakeholders, because we need to create awareness. We need to create capacities, which is one of the key also activities in the project, but also to create ownership. But at the end, to have something that is sustainable on long time beyond the financial support of the Commission requires of long-term interests and ownership, and addressing real life challenges is the way we see that we can bring this on the table. So at the end, the long-term vision for the project is to be self-sustainable and to become a food security hub in Africa, which is from the beginning reliant on the use of this geospatial science, the Earth observation data provided mostly by the Copernicus constellation, but other sensors are welcome also. But yeah, to sustain this through a long time by means of bringing on not just data, but information and the means to exploit this information in through different means or different manners. Yeah, and that's what I wanted to stress today. So I leave the floor to Mark to follow up the meeting. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks, Juan. Now we go directdirectly over to Stelios for the presentation, the demonstration, I should say, of the AfriCultuReS Community Data Hub. Stelios,
on my screen right now.
Yes, great, thanks.
So I hope all you are seeing now my screen, and this is, and if it is okay, this is the AfriCultuReS platform. This is the main tool that it is supporting the long-term vision of the AfriCultuReS project to become a food security hub for the whole Africa. And we are combining three different aspects. The one is the data, the geospatial data, also the in situ and non-EO data coming from different data sources, from administrative data, finance data, everything we need The ICT tools is the second part, and the combination of them, it allows into different types of users to use this information, to use this intelligence, to build their services, the services that they needed, and the most important, if they are a more special user, specialized in geospatial science or in food security science, it could be make a deep dive in this pool of data and intelligence. But if it is not, and it is just a policymaker, it could be come to the consortium and construct with all of us the specific use cases. As I told you, we do have the, as you see, we do have 4 different buttons. The one is for the AfriCulture WebGIS, where someone could go to the WebGIS and make a tour to the different, to the catalog of the data products and see what is available. The AfriCulture Geospatial Business Analytics, where the user could actually combine the EO and non-EO data and provide geospatial intelligence in regional level, and also to make correlation between the different data sources and provide and produce more wisdom. And of course, the services and the AfriCulture use cases. If we go for the use cases, and many of them, they will be presented after my presentation. If we go on the first one, the cropland management on national and regional level, it will help us to guide through the different ICT tools and data that we are using to build these services and these cases. So the user story for these services that we have the Ministry of Agriculture, and they do have access to the current status condition of their area, and of course to have an early warning regarding drought, because with this information they will take some mitigation action to reduce the impact of drought on the food production. It is constructed by using 3 different services: the crop condition monitoring, the seasonal climate forecast, and the drought early warning. And these are all displayed in different data products in the different ICT tools, starting with the current situation of the crop production, which are based on the vegetation condition index, on the leaf area index, and the NDVI, and a very high resolution, in a very high spatial resolution. You can, of course, making zoom in or zoom out in the area, or he can either combine the different data and make a split of the window to compare the 2 different data sets, or to compare the same data set in different times. So if we see also in the next one, the crop condition, also through the spatial analytics tool, he can actually have a predefined dashboard where these data are, the geospatial data are processed, producing specific zonal statistics, and then according to the administrative boundaries, in our case in Ethiopia is on a county level, they can also combine with the numerical values coming from the administrative data for the financial data regarding statistical data regarding the population and other variables. And all this to be a static one in terms of the organization of different windows and graphs, but the information is changing according with the availability of new data. And proceeding to the next one, for the seasonal climate forecast, they are using several different data products coming from the precipitation, seasonal precipitation amount, also the tercile probabilities of precipitation, and of course, for the same for the temperature. And except from the temperature, we can see some other data where you can display or choose the correct time and date that you need to see and play with your data. or either to make in the new one with the drought early warning. We go on the next one to visualize this as a graphical video in GIF format, playing the monthly changes of the potential evapotranspiration anomaly. But I think that the most important is, except from the functionalities, which are the typical functionalities of GIS and the geospatial tools that offering different capabilities to make correlations between different data sets, is to go on this button, the green button, the add data, where you can actually make a tour to the data cataloging to see which is available, and based on this to construct different data services and different cases and map stories. Currently, the platform is on a beta testing phase internally from the consortium, but we are expecting on the mid of autumn to be available for all the community to come and play. And the most important with this is to provide back to us their valuable feedback and wisdom to start developing better these services. Thank you very much, Mark.
Thanks, Stelios, for this demo. And just with a look at the clock, I think now we go directly to Vivian with a presentation on the first use case that we have today on crop and crop condition mapping and index insurance in Kenya. Vivian, please.
Thank you very much, Mark. I hope you can all hear me clearly.
Yes, thanks.
Okay. So my name is Vivian Meta, and I will be presenting on Kenya's use case. I currently work for a company called Located Limited, which is the AfriCulture's representative in Kenya. Next slide, please. So the idea is that we are using for our use case here, we're using AfriCulture's platform to support crop condition mapping in the country. So basically the motivation behind this, and for the users that we have locally, is that all across the world, we know that crop growth and production is facing complications due to increased climatic variability, as well as unprecedented climate-related disasters. This situation is therefore not helping our farmers, because it's just basically leading them to, suffer unprecedented loss of crops every season. So the challenge that we have is mostly catalyzed by propagated lack of information on the impending climatic variabilities, also on lack of knowledge in crop production and agricultural practices, as well as certified information that support precision agriculture. These problems have over the years been seen to, cage farmers into poverty, characterized by them receiving low yields or low production. And of course, that affects even their readiness level to sell their produce to the markets at the right time with the right prices that would be beneficial for them to engage in agricultural practices. Also, a lot of the available products locally have been, to support agricultural production, have been marred with inconsistencies and inaccuracies that expose the farmer to the same problems of loss every other year. And therefore, through the AfriCulture's platform, the aggregation of Earth observation-based crop monitoring services and forecast will offer great potential in the many aspects throughout the entire value chain. And this gives rise to positive effect for the farmer to be able to increase their production, to also increase the value addition coming from the produce, and in the end, improve the amount of the return on investment with a possibility of a steady upward trend. Next slide. So the description of our use case, so very specifically, this service through the AfriCultuReS service, we hope to support close monitoring of the crop extent, status, condition, and health, as well as providing key information such as weather advisories. So the application is basically aimed at developing and cementing effective method to provide crop condition mapping and monitoring for possible upscaling, of course, and usage in different platforms through APIs. Then part of the design also is focused on developing a communication framework with existing products, users and users. These are agricultural authorities and farmers that will enhance dissemination of the outputs. Next slide. So the process yields a very functional framework of implementation and supports the end users with the services provided for in the AfriCultuReS platform in relation to, of course, crop monitoring. And the process also integrates the lessons learned based on practices while supporting dissemination of the outputs, as you can see there. Next. Okay, ready. All right. So some of the stuff through the AfriCultuReS platform, we basically envision that we will provide simplified information in the form of maps and geostatistical outputs to monitor the health condition status of the crops in the field. And these services would therefore be consumed by various entities that we have identified locally, such as the Ministry of Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries, and then also the Kenya Agricultural and Livestock Research Organization, as well as the Agriculture and Food Authority, who then through some of the projects that they've been implemented, including farmer registration, will be able to disseminate some of these products to their end users who are now farmers. So with that, I think I will end there. Thank you for listening to me.
Thanks, Viviana. And now we will shift to Ghana, where Foster Mensah will present the early warning system based on crop monitoring. Please, Foster, floor is yours.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you very much, Mark, and thank you for this opportunity. My name is Foster, as has been mentioned. I work with CESGIS, Center for Remote Sensing and Geographic Information Services. We are based in the University of Ghana, and we are a member of the AfriCultuReS Consortium. Next slide, please. Yes, so by way of motivation, we all know that the smallholder farmers still dominate in the agricultural sector in Ghana. And so there's a lot of dependence on rain-fed agriculture. And so that impacts food security a lot. In addition to declining soil fertility, there is also an issue with flooding, which results in low crop yield and also food insecurity. And so we think that the information and tools that will be made available by the AfriCultuReS platform will go a long way to support food security assessment. And therefore, we will also have the opportunity to develop information products that we can share with decision makers as a component to help in early warning and also to help in sustainable agriculture. Next slide, please. So by way of the theory of change, we envisage that at the end of the day, food security will be improved and agriculture will be sustainable using good practices. We also would want to see that these tools will help develop two pathways so that we can help policymakers uptake these information products for decision making, and also to help the entire value chain, especially the farmers, to assess their needs and also to know when not to and when to plant and things like that to help them in their overall planning in the field. Next slide, please. By way of the data that will be provided by these services, we are looking at land cover and land use change information products that will help the ministry in general and also interested parties in the agricultural sector. We are looking at early warning products such as crop condition maps and plots, flood-induced vulnerability index maps. We are looking at climate outlook maps and plots, evaporative stress index and soil moisture. We think that the services will be consumed usefully by the Ministry of Agriculture, the Ministry of Environment, the National Disaster Management Organization, and also the National Development Planning Commission. Thank you very much for your attention.
Yes, thanks, Foster. And now we move to Mozambique, where Thomas Chiconella will present on crop monitoring and yield forecasting, with also special attention for drought and flood monitoring. Thomas, please. Well, just to say, Thomas is not of Sergis, but of the Eduardo Mondlane University. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Mark. I think Mark said it all. What I'm going to do is to talk about crop monitoring and drought and flood. But for me, I think all those things are together. So in Mozambique, the agriculture sector is dominated by small-scale farmers, which account for 97.8% of all agriculture sector. Therefore, food crops are the majority of all crop production. So this sector is characterized by having low productivity, and that is due to dependence on seasonality of rainfall, lack or even low use of fertilizer and pesticides, high incidence of pests and diseases, and at the same time, the farms are scattered across the landscape. They are not continuous. So extension officers, usually they have problems to assist all of farmers. And as a result, the majority of the population is food insecure. However, several studies conducted in Africa and elsewhere, including in Mozambique, for example, indicate that conservation agriculture, IPM, agroforests can help increase food security. So we also think that if we combine sustainable agriculture with F observations, including starting to monitor our crops, use models, and start forecasting, and join them with a good agriculture policy, we can end up having a very good food security. We can allow our farmers to be food secure and turn agriculture viable for them. So, next slide, please. So based on F observations, we expect that the country will start monitoring our crops, even start forecasting yield, and at the same time it will allow the government and other stakeholders to assess information regarding cultivated area and the information on crop types at large scale, what now is not possible. And at the same time, they will start conducting seasonal yield prediction and adapt economic policies, develop adaptation strategies, can start having early warning, and forecast drought and floods. And that information can also help farmers to make decisions about their crops, select irrigation strategy, even know when to harvest. Next slide, please. So the users of this information, we expect that it will be the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, National Disaster Management Institute, National Meteorological Institute, and National Institute for Statistics, farmers, and farmers associations. Thank you.
Thanks, Thomas. And now we move a bit north again to Rwanda, where Clarisse Kagoyire will present on crop monitoring and yield forecasting for crop insurance. Clarisse, please.
Also present.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. I'm Clarisse Kagoyire from the Center for GIS and Remote Sensing from the University of Rwanda. And as already Mark introduced me, I'm going to talk a little bit about crop monitoring and yield forecasting services in support of insurances. So our case study, our use case, we addressed the challenges that are faced in the establishment of the National Agriculture Insurance Scheme. This scheme was launched by the Ministry of Agriculture and Animal Resources, MINAGRI, in 2019. So the insurance was initiated to mitigate some of the risk, uncertainty, and losses incurred by smallholder farmers, which are the majority of farmers in Rwanda. Noting that with 90% of production being food crop, agriculture in Rwanda is mainly for subsistence, and of course it faces various risks and uncertainty. And this scheme was established to address those. So currently, the next slide, please. Currently, the scheme covers livestock and crop insurance. However, in our use case, we focused more on the crop insurance because so far, a number of reports showed that farmers are more satisfied with the livestock insurance product than the crop insurance product. So the issue here, we try to understand the issue with the crop insurance, and we found that farmers are not happy with the product. So then we decided we should see the challenges and see how we can address the challenges with using other observation. So for instance, the current existing crop insurance are the area yield index, and another product is the hybrid crop insurance product, which combine the weather index with the area yield crop insurance. So each of these products has its own challenges. For instance, the first one, the area yield index product, it depends by the estimation of the harvest at the time of the harvest. So they use the crop cutting experiment from a sample of plots. And this method is costly because then it requires a number of farm visits, even considering that the arable land is defragmented. So the number of farm visits is considerable, and it's prone to error. And it requires also historical data on the yield. The second one also, which is the hybrid crop insurance, also, it has its own challenges. The product is affected by microclimates. These microclimates also are also affected, are caused by the topography of Rwanda. It's very hilly, and the topography changes a lot. Where come the microclimates? So this also affects the accuracy of the products. And of course, the distance between the different farms and the weather stations also affects the accuracy and the transparency of the product. So in summary, and the challenges of these products, there is a requirement of a richer agricultural database, a historical data secondary to the existing one in the ministry, and a secondary data on the weather, a continuous observation of the weather. So that's where comes the Earth observation to address these issues. So, for instance, our use case study, the potential activities, the planned activities under this use case study. Next slide, please. Consists of continuous observation of the crop condition and the phenology, which are going to help in refining the area yield index insurance that depends on the historical yield data, and the soil moisture estimates and continuous rainfall estimates are also going to help into refining the second product, which is the hybrid crop insurance product. So the output of these EO-based services are going to be very helpful, are going to be used by not only the ministry, but also the researchers. Those are our main targeted users. Within the ministry, for instance, we have the agribusiness expert who plays a big role in drafting the insurance policy. We have the district agronomists. All those users need access to this data to be able to refine the existing products and even to create the new products, because the scheme is still young, and as I have already said, it's only 2 products and it covers only 5 crops. So having access to extra data will help the ministry to increase the transparency of the product, and farmers are going to have more willingness to buy the product, which was going to increase the insurance uptake and of course improve their financial situation, because they have more access to financial products. Once you have crop insurance, you can have also agricultural loan. So this is going to be very impactful in terms of boosting the agricultural sector from a subsistence sector to a commercial one. And of course, the ministry is going to be able to optimally allocate their subsidy budget, because currently the scheme also is supported by the government. The farmer pays a certain percentage of the crop insurance premium, whereas the government pays 40% as a subsidy to help the farmers to be able to afford the crop insurance product. So among also, beside the crop condition monitoring and the crop productivity, there's also, as I already mentioned, the weather index also have its own challenges, which is mostly connects with the resolution of the data that are being used. Currently, the data that is available is 4 by 4 kilometers grid every 10 days. So given the land defragmentation, as I've already mentioned earlier, this is very prone to also error, which also connects with the level of satisfaction of the farmers. With a higher resolution in terms of time and space, this could, of course, increase the accuracy, refine the product, then the farmers will be more happy with the product, and the uptake is going also to be improved. Yeah, that will be all from me. Thank you.
Thanks, Clarice. Now we move to the last presentation of this session by Malatse Kanyago on drought relief funds for livestock farmers. Please, Malatse.
Thanks, Mark. Good morning, everyone. I'm going to be presenting on the objective allocation of drought relief resources for livestock farmers using this AfriCulture's decision support system. So as my fellow Africans have already alluded, we are a continent full of challenges, and one of them is a global challenge as well, which is climate change, where we are experiencing varying temperatures and heat waves, and as well as the sporadic rainfalls causing too much water and too little water in some areas, resulting in a phenomena called drought, which affects the livestock, which we depend on for meat products and protein. Meat is actually one of the very important food in our South African diet, and also drought causes increases the intensity and the frequency of the wildfires. So just last year we have had a big fire where a lot of livestock have died as a result of the drought and the frequency of the fires. So another problem is land degradation, because with the lack of information, then the farmers will continue to graze the animals on the same portion, then resulting to overgrazing and permanent destruction of the land. So basically this affects directly on the rangeland health and fodder availability for the livestock for a range of farmers, including subsistence and commercial farmers. And eventually, this has implications on the food availability, on the prices, as well as access. And as a country as well, it deters our ability to be able to, and progress to be able to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. Another slide. So farmers over the years have developed means of coping with these challenges. One of them is insurance. However, most of the farmers do not actually afford this insurance, hence will depend on the government for providing relief so that they can be able to buy fodder to supplement during the drought conditions. But one of the major problems is who is affected and who needs that relief. Therefore, there's a lack of information in terms of how do they adequately and objectively allocate these relief resources. So in this use case, next slide, please. We are actually developing this use case with the users already. We have had several meetings with them, and we have now defined the objective is that we want to integrate the agricultural services and products into information that will be essential for providing early warning to the farmers so that they can be able to sell the livestock at an appropriate time and value to avoid the losses in terms of profit, and also to support decision making by government in the allocation of the financial aid or other resources that will relieve the farmers of the effects of drought, as well as support implementation of policies and assessing their effectiveness, because with this information, then we are able to monitor the policies as well and revise them so that they speak to the current times and challenges. So AfriCulture's service, actually, AfriCulture's platform, the advantage is that provides a number of products that not any other project has provided before in one platform. And this allows us to be able to integrate this number of products into information that can be used by farmers as well as the decision makers. Next slide, please. So these are some of the example products. As I mentioned, AfriCulture has this advantage that it provides a number and variety of products ranging from climate and weather forecasts, the Earth observation data, in situ data, and so on. And this is an example of integrating different variables, looking at the rainfall and evapotranspiration and soil water content and vegetation condition to combine into combined drought index, which will provide alerts, which are very simple information that can be understood by everyone, including the decision makers and the general public, about the different alerts about the drought, so that they can be able to take appropriate decision at different scales. Next slide. So one of the benefits from the users that they actually identify themselves is that this platform will be able to provide added lens information, which is actually relevant for implementing, monitoring, and reporting on the legislative mandates, which they are required to deliver on a annual basis, as well as it will also provide the support to the existing programs. So another benefit as well is that there will be improved efficiencies in terms of the allocation of relief resources, and also better decision making as a result of the information that will be deriving from the AfriCultuReS. So the logos that you see, some of the users that we are engaging in that will benefit from the information that we'll be providing. So another benefit is that they will be able to assess the effectiveness of the policy instruments that they're putting through, and use information-driven policy formulation to actually target specific problems that they can solve. That's it from me. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Malatse, and thanks all the speakers. As additional information, there are 3 more use cases in AfriCultuReS. One is in Ethiopia on crop monitoring and irrigation advice. The other is in Tunisia by OSS on supporting the Tunisian Ministry of Agriculture, also in their crop monitoring and yield forecasting. And the last one is in Niger by AgriMed on biomass and water availability services for pastoralists. Then coming back, there were 2 questions from Sarah. One is if there are success stories available. This gives me also the opportunity to maybe explain a bit what I am doing in this whole framework of AfriCultuReS. One of the things is that I am the liaison with GEO. AfriCultuReS is a community activity in GEO, and we made it a community activity because it is more local than GeoGlam. So that is the local dimension that you have there. And indeed, it is also supporting GeoGlow, so water sustainability. We are a part of that. But one of the things we are doing is that our focus is indeed very much on climate adaptation. And the success stories are not there yet, but we want to develop them out of the use cases that we have presented in this session. And the second question, and that I'm going to pose to the panelists, is any question from Sarah. Are we also contributing in any way with the AfriCultuReS service to the national adaptation plans? Could you please give your view or reaction on that? Just jump in by unmuting yourself and giving your opinion. Who wants to go first?
Yes, I can go. So right now we are in the stage where we are still developing these use cases, but of course the long-term goal is to be able to integrate this information into the national adaptation strategies. So the good thing is that we have a buy-in from the users, which is the Department of Agriculture and other secondary users that are interested in the information. So from here, we can be able to demonstrate the usefulness of the information for decision making and be able to integrate this information into the different adaptation strategies. Thanks.
Yeah, and just like Malatia said, we also have been working with most of the government agencies, especially that are involved in the development and implementation of the adaptation plans, the National Disaster Management Organization, the Ministry of Food and Agriculture. And so this gives us the opportunity to integrate most of the geospatial products that will be churned out by the AfriCultuReS platform. And we will help them to also develop customized applications for districts, district assemblies, especially districts where they are vulnerable and they will expect to use these products for decision making and also for planning. So yes, it's a very good exercise for us because already we will be integrating these EO products in also coming up with the implementation of the adaptation plans. Thank you.
Thanks, Foster. And Tomas, you mentioned it explicitly in your presentation. So I assume for Mozambique that will be something similar. Yes, am I correct?
Yes. What we are intending is to put these services to demonstrate to the government so that they can start using for observations to help in planning, even forecasting the yield, and even forecasting drought and so many other things. That's our plan. Thank you.
Thanks. And question to, yes, please.
Yeah, I think thanks, Mark. Thanks, Sarah, for asking that question. And I think for our case in Kenya, already there is an ongoing process that is ensuring the utilization of Earth observation products to support in crop monitoring services, and also through other initiatives such as those funded by the World Bank. There is what we call the Kenya Climate Smart project, which utilizes different levels of data to support agriculture, and also just to ensure that within yield estimations that are done by our ministry, we have incorporated Earth observation as opposed to the previous or the standard way of doing crop cuts. Thank you.
Thanks. And for Rwanda, Clarice?
Yeah, even in Rwanda, it's same as my colleague has already mentioned. The buy-in is already there. For instance, for the national adaptation strategy, in the draft document, the use of Earth observation and GIS data is already part of it into the draft document, and there have been some of the some studies already to kind of test the theory that have been done into the climate change already by the Ministry of Environment. So the use of Earth observation in the NAPA is already ongoing, though it's at the infancy stage, but it's ongoing already through other initiatives other than the current one. However, the idea of a use case also is like to reinforce that that thing to show the use of Earth observation into climate adaptation actions.
Thanks, Clarice. A question to Sarah. I always understood that, well, as you also said in the chat, that the geo involvement with climate is a bit on a higher level. And when we started with AfriCultuReS, it was not really decided that climate would be such an important focus for us, but it is. So you are interested in this kind of initiative at the local level, I understand. Is that
Hi,
correct?
everyone. May I speak? So it's easy.
Yes, please.
Okay, so hi, I'm the climate coordinator at the GEO Secretariat, and indeed, I joined the Secretariat only in 2019. So this is a recent kind of work stream that we are doing, focusing very much on climate action. We have established a GEO climate change working group with 100 members, where we have some deliverables to undertake and preparations for UNFCCC events. But of course, even if we join international negotiations that are at higher level, we are always interested in hearing from, use cases, local success stories, because these are essentially the justification of our work. They show that GEO is doing something concrete, and indeed we have a big focus on climate adaptation, but also loss and damage. There are issues that are very important to developing countries that we want to support. So in particular on the agriculture sector, we are looking to develop a national adaptation plan guidance document with GeoGlam, and we are always welcoming contributions from others. It is essentially a sort of document blueprint that will help local government officials to integrate Earth observation for crop monitoring into their sectoral adaptation strategies or national adaptation strategies. So we're looking for example success stories to include in the guidance document, but also in general in the context of COP26 that is happening later this year in Glasgow. We will have opportunities to showcase these examples and success stories at GEO-led side events, or even during the actual negotiations, so that we can provide a push to our work, really. So thanks for these examples. They're really, really interesting, and I'll be in touch with you and the speakers again.
Yes, I think that if we are in time for COP26, I do not exactly know, but we definitely can contribute, and I can be the link for that. And Ian Jarvis is in our advisory board, so that is great. Let's do that. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks. Having a look at the time. We're a bit over time. I do not know what happens if someone kicks you out or not, but I think we're the last GEO symposium session for today. So I think if anyone has a question still, this is your opportunity. If not, then we will end the session. Okay, well, then thanks everyone for speaking, for attending, for the discussion. I think this was a really great event. And as I said at the start, I'm really happy that after this spending this long time on the runway preparing, we are now really prepared and taking off. So thank you all for that. You can access the presentations later. The GEO Secretariat will collect them, and I think the recording of this session is also available. So thank you very much and have a nice day. Thanks.